Welcome to this rapid revision session on Operation Ranch Hand. We can see a ranch hand operation going on in the photograph above. That looks like vapor trails coming out of the back of planes, and in a way it is, but it's not like the vapor trails you'd see today. These are low-flying cargo aircraft which are deliberately spraying herbicides or defoliants over the jungle. But why did they do this, and what effects did it have? Firstly, let's consider the nature of search and destroy operations with which ranch hand was most associated. I've got a separate rapid revision video on this if you want to have a look at it in more detail, but in brief, small units of US and ARVN soldiers searched the jungle for Viet Cong camps and supplies. US and ARVN troops would call in helicopters or planes to bomb or spray defoliant chemicals on Viet Cong hideouts. Missions took place on ground with traps laid by the Viet Cong. There were few full-scale battles, they were usually hit-and-run ambushes. The aspect that is relevant to us looking at ranch hand is this. US troops would call in helicopters or planes to bomb or spray defoliant chemicals on Viet Cong hideouts. The nature of Viet Cong guerrilla tactics meant that hiding was crucial. It was considered that if you sprayed defoliants on the jungle, there would be fewer places for the Viet Cong to hide. More to the point, if you sprayed defoliants on food supplies, then villagers would not be able to supply the Viet Cong with food, and it would help hasten their defeat. But this had many unintended consequences. Let's look first, though, at the process by which this was done. Here we can see a picture of two of the aircraft involved in Operation Ranch Hand. And here's how we can tell. These are two South Vietnamese Fairchild C-123 providers, probably crewed by American crews rather than South Vietnamese ones. Notice that the Air Force markings look an awful lot like the American ones, only with the yellow of the South Vietnamese flag on the stars and bars there. This is the bit that's really of interest to us. Fitted with chemical spraying gear under both wings and on the fuselage loading ramp, these transport aircraft were turned into giant crop sprayers. They could fly along in formation with the wash from their propeller blades, helping to spread the spray of defoliants out the back of them. There were two main defoliants that were used, and we're going to study their effects now. This is an example of chemical warfare, but not one that's deliberately directed at human beings, but the damage might as well have been. Spraying the jungle with defoliants started during Kennedy's presidency in 1961, but it later expanded between 1964 and 1970. Herbicides that were used were 50% stronger than those used on farms. Really powerful stuff. One of the chemicals was codenamed Agent Blue. This killed food crops fast, so it might be sprayed on the rice fields. The other, more famous one was called Agent Orange. This was even stronger and was used to clear the jungle itself. The codenames were named after the symbols that were printed on the barrels of defoliants. 3,000 villages were sprayed, which represents about 24% of Vietnam's area. Villagers rarely escaped first. Even if leaflets were dropped warning them of what was about to happen, few were literate enough to take the advice. And this led to a tragic legacy. How much the US knew about what was going to happen with Agent Orange is up for debate. But this is what did happen, and it's worth knowing. By 1970, there was clear proof that Agent Orange caused health effects. Poisons in the chemicals didn't dissolve in water. They stayed just as potent rather than being diluted, and so they could be carried for miles in drinking water. The poisons also stayed in the soil, affecting crops for years after the spraying. Health effects lasted for decades and included skin, heart, bone and lung diseases, cancer, and perhaps most shockingly, birth defects. I'm going to show you a picture now which is rather unpleasant, but it is worth seeing to show the real human effects of the legacy of Agent Orange. These Vietnamese children have tragically been born with birth defects, and none of them would live very long. If you are shocked by these images, and I know I am, and I certainly was the first time I saw them, that's one of the points with this. The rest of the world was too. This did not show that the USA was necessarily doing the right thing in the views of many people in Vietnam. The American public was horrified by images like this one here. And so in 1971, chemical spraying as part of this campaign ended. Check out these effects on the landscape too, though. Although this shows two different areas, it gives you an idea of the effects. In the top we can see the intact jungle, and underneath we can see the jungle as it looked after it had been attacked with Agent Orange, completely obliterated. You might say an environmental disaster. Let's have a look at some final points about Operation Ranch Hand then. Viet Cong guerrilla tactics relied heavily on the concealment offered by the jungle and the support of food given by Vietnamese villagers. The US and ARVN made a plan to use chemicals dropped by aircraft to deal with this. This was called Operation Ranch Hand. Agent Blue killed food crops to reduce the supplies that could be given to National Liberation Front or Viet Cong fighters. Agent Orange killed jungle plants to expose Viet Cong positions. The chemical defoliants caused outrage when they were proved to cause mass illness and birth defects in innocent people. And that concludes this look at Agent Orange. I hope it's been useful to you, and if it has, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. If you've got a topic that you're desperate for me to do a rapid revision session on, put it in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.